Hello people of BookTube, Megan here, and time for another 7 on Sunday video. Been a while since I've done one of these. For those who don't know, 7 on Sunday is a Goodreads group, prompt group that is hosted by G Swizzle here on BookTube. A link to both her channel and the Goodreads group will be linked down in the description for anyone who is interested in. Oh my god, it's been a while since I've done one of these. Been a while since I filmed the video in general, because slumps are just amazing, aren't they? So, yeah, this week's prompt is Trilogy recommendations. And can I just say, I did not realize I don't read that many trilogies anymore. I feel like years ago, that is like all I would read or all that was like out there. I never realized how many unfinished trilogies or trilogies I DNF'd there are and how few I've actually completed as of late. So this list was a little harder than I thought it would be to make. But I did it. It happened. So, yay. And for the record, this list is in no particular order. It's just what came to mind and what I came up with. First on this list is the Once Upon a Con trilogy by Ashley Poston. Love this trilogy. They're, I believe, technically considered companion novels. You could potentially read them each on their own, but definitely makes more sense to read them in order. But yeah, love this series. I talk about this series quite a lot, especially in lists like this. I am not a big fan of contemporary books. I'm much more of a fantasy, urban fantasy kind of gal, but this series took me by surprise. I loved it. I love the whole concept of it. I love the fact that they're retellings. I love me my fairy tale retellings. And just, I love the nerdiness in these books. They are just so fantastic. For those who don't know, the first book in the series, Gigarella, is a geeky version of Cinderella. Then there's The Princess and the Fangirl, which is The Prince and the Pauper. And the third book, Bookish and the Beast, Beauty and the Beast, and they're just all so amazingly done. I love all the characters, I love how they connect, and just everything about them I absolutely adore. And it is probably one of the few, if only, contemporary series that I will be like constantly recommending to people. They're all super cute and just, I love them. The second series is one I actually just read this year, and it is the Winter Night Trilogy by Katherine Arden. And I do remember seeing quite a few people talk at least about the first one, The Baron the Nightingale, years ago on BookTube, and not much since. Which is a shame, because I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't be able to describe it and do it justice, but it does involve a lot of Russian fairy tales. It takes place in Russia, and just, I love me my retellings, as I said before, and reimaginings as well, and just anything involving fairy tales and folklore. And I'm not really familiar with Russian folklore much at all, other than like Baba Yaga, and just, this was a whole new world to me, in a way. All these stories and fairy tales and things I've never heard of, and learning about them for the first time, hearing about them for the first time, it was really nice, really refreshing. I enjoyed the main character, and just, I overall really enjoyed it. And for anyone who does enjoy, like, kind of fairy tales and whatnot, highly recommend. The third on this list is technically two different trilogies. They take place in the same world along the same timeline, but they're two separate trilogies following two separate groups of characters. I couldn't just pick one and not the other because I love them both. And they are The Darkest Powers and The Darkest Rising trilogies by Kelly Armstrong. Just, I enjoyed these series. It's been a hot minute since I've read them. I need to reread them again. I want to get reviews for them up. And it's just really cool. They're basically about supernatural teens coming into their powers and just chaos along the way. I don't want to say much and give spoilers for these series, but they're just really great. They involve supernatural elements. And I also just really enjoy the fact that both these trilogies take place in the same world as her Woman of the Other World series. Love that series. probably one of my first little forays into more urban fantasy, adult fantasy. So the fact that they take place in the same world, kind of same laws and whatnot, is just, loved it. Love that little expansion, and just highly recommend. Number 4 on this list is the Sweet Trilogy by Wendy Higgins. Just, I do enjoy stories involving Nephilim, angels, demons, all that jazz. And I enjoyed Wendy Higgins' little twist on like Nephilim lore and what have you. Just, I thought it was really interesting. And just, I love seeing people take like existing concepts like demons, angels, Nephilim, and whatnot, and give their own little twist to it. Just, I love seeing how creative people can get, how different ideas can seem from one another, and just, I really enjoyed this little take. Number 5 on this list is the Penryn and the End of Days trilogy by Susan E. And I do remember this was huge on BookTube a while ago. Like, God, it was a long time ago. Or at least it feels like forever ago. And there was so much hype, especially around the first book, but then it kind of petered out, which is a shame, because, yeah, I don't remember the later two books being quite as strong as the first, but it was still a nice series. I enjoyed it. I love seeing angels as like the bad guys, and just, I thought that was such an interesting concept, and it's something I recommend, especially if you are looking for like a more dystopian read with evil angels. And just, it was really cool, and I liked it, and I wish more people were talking about it again. Number 6 on this list is the Modern Fairy Tale trilogy by Holly Black. I know Holly is kind of well known here on BookTube, especially for the Folk of the Air trilogy, I believe the Darkest Part of the Forest is also a bigger one, but I don't see a lot of people talk about the Modern Fairy Tale series, and that's a shame, because that is a nice series. It was good. I do enjoy how we see some characters from the Modern Fairy Tale books in the Folk of the Air books. I just wish we could see a little more hype around the Modern Fairy Tale series, and it is one that I will be constantly recommending people. It was my first little bit of exposure to not only Holly Black's work, but to the darker aspects of the fair folk, and just, I loved it. I loved it, and I love Holly's writing, and just, Holly Black in general, I will be constantly recommending to people, but since I feel the Modern Fairy Tale books need a little more love, constantly going to be recommending them. And the final trilogy on this list is the Blood of Eden trilogy by Julie Kagua. I'm pretty sure I've established by now that I love Julie Kagua's work. I absolutely love the Iron Fae series. I love the Talon series. And those, as well as Shadow and the Fox, I see people talking about pretty often, especially since she's continuing on with the Iron Fae books. But I don't see many people talk about the Blood of Eden books. Great series, futuristic, dystopian vampire books. They're great. I know dystopian isn't quite as big as it used to be back in like when the Hunger Games and Divergent were coming out, but it was a good series. And just with vampires, I feel, coming back into popularity, this is definitely a book series that I would recommend. Especially if you do like a little dystopian twist to things. It's just chef's kiss fantastic. I need to review that series. It's been a hot minute. Oh my god. So yeah, those are 7 trilogies, technically 8, that I recommend. Highly recommend each and every one of those trilogies. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I hope to see you guys next time.